Welcome this Thursday, February 5th, 2026, to another episode of the DCA podcast. This is your host, Reverend Dr. Ruben Dockery. Grateful that you can join us today in this podcast. It's Black History Month. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Black History Month tonight. That's going to be our topic, a historical factor. But we're going to tie this in to Dockery Christian Academy's efforts to make positive history by reversing a curse, if you will, or changing the paradigm for addressing the social, emotional, and academic needs of Black males in America. More specifically, right in Nashville, Tennessee. All right? But I need your help. This is a national effort, I say. Even though we have a local focus, this is a national effort. Because we're aiming to develop this prototype or model that can be used all across urban America. Okay? And we're grateful for you to join us tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to get going. Our topic this evening is the impact of the United States Supreme Court decisions on the plight of Black boys in America. Now you may say, Dockery, that's a stretch, man. That's pretty broad. How do you come up with that? Well, bear with me, stay with me, follow me, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it tonight. So we're going to look at some things. And again, I want to encourage you, if you're following us on Facebook, feel free to post your question or comments there. We'll do our level best to try to respond to them tonight as best we can in real time. Then I have a very, 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 very important announcement tonight that I believe you're going to love. I know I love it, and I love to share it with you. Okay? So we endeavor to be with you not very long, about 45 minutes, if that much. But we want to get this topic out. This is our Black History Month topic. And for the month of February, we will be focusing on things related to history and the impact of Afro-American people, Black people, Negroes, if you will, at one point in time called colored. Nonetheless, we invite you to join us and follow us and listen to us this evening. Hopefully you can gain something, okay? Again, this is Reverend Dockery, your host for the DCA podcast, Dockery Christian Academy podcast. All right, let's get right into it. So tonight we'll consider 3 historical legal decisions or precedents that factors into the evolution of the social, political, economic, and you might even say health status of Black males in the United States today. Okay, that's what we're intending to do. In one way or another, they all challenge these 3 decisions that I'll discuss tonight. They challenge the notion of the audacity, if you will, of the 13th and the 14th Amendment, which suggested, inferred, implied that now former slaves were free and had rights of citizenship to be respected and considered as anyone else in America. These constitutional things have led to a number of historical events, and all in the middle are the plight, I should say, of Black folk. But particularly, we're going to relate that to where Black males are today. All right? Now, this idea that the Declaration of Independence said that all men were created equal, it begs the question, what men were you talking about? And does that apply today? Did it apply then? Who makes it applicable? Is it automatic? Or is there a certain trigger, a certain process that has to be followed to make that actionable? All right. So those are the type of things that we're going to discuss tonight. Let's start with first the fight for freedom as it relates to black men, black males, and by extension to their black women and children. I'm going to start with the Dred Scott decision. Now, let's give a little background of Dred Scott decision and pull that into our discussion tonight. Dred Scott's story is about an enslaved man and his wife, Harriet, who sued for their freedom in the 1840s and the 1850s. They claim that living in a free territory basically allowed them to benefit from the rights of being free, you see. And that was challenged all the way up to the Supreme Court. I'll give you a little background on Dred Scott and who he is and kind of how this came about. In 1857, a major Supreme Court decision was established, though, and it set a precedent for some things. In fact, it led to one of America's greatest wars. Dred Scott was born in slavery in Virginia, which was a slave state, in 1799. But he was later purchased. He lived with the Blow family then, right? And the Blow family moved to St. Louis, which was in the Missouri, was half the state was slavery, half of it was anti-slavery, okay, by some compromise that Congress had passed. Well, Dr. John Emerson was a United States surgeon, Army surgeon, and he purchased Scott and took him to Illinois with him, which was a free state. And the Wisconsin, part of the Wisconsin territory where slavery was banned by the Missouri Compromise. That was a compromise that certain parts of this area is going to be free, some parts you can have slaves, okay? So Dred Scott was caught up in the middle. He didn't really have his own freedom, but it was tethered to his owner, his slave master, his owner. And the slave master position was, you know, you all right. We up north now. We're not in a slave state. But that was challenged. Despite the ruling, Dred Scott's original owner, the Blows, went back and purchased them. And they were able to individually grant him freedom. See, the assumption was that just being in a free area, territory, automatically made him free. But a major part of the decision from the Supreme Court was that because Negroes, as they were called at that time, were not born here, they didn't have a right. They were not born free, or they were, you know, they were not a part of American infrastructure. They didn't have a right. They had no rights. So they couldn't bring a court to the case. But this went all the way up to the Supreme Court case. And in effect, what this did was to cause greater tension toward the factions in Congress that were pro-slavery, anti-slavery. And of course, the Missouri Compromise was a major factor there. Dred Scott ultimately only became free because a white slave master decided that despite what the Supreme Court said, I do have the authority to determine if he's free or not. You see? And what this showed us, beloved, is that it doesn't matter where you are in America. What really matters is who you are and what you're willing to fight for. What is it that you're willing to put something, to make a sacrifice for? And Dred Scott did that along with his slave master, who fought and ultimately saw to it that he was free in America. All right? Now that's the 1857 Dred Scott decision. It's not where you are, where you go, and that's even today. But it's about what you do for yourself. Ultimately, a legal decision may come, someone may sue, or somebody may be happy or not happy. But it's up to you. It's what you do. So this Black History Month, let's understand that just like Dred Scott, you have to be self-determined to push and fight for what's important to you. All right? So the second one is the concept of legal separation or legal desegregation. Well, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Really, it began with legal separation that set the stage for the desegregation. But let's get into it. This fellow by the name of Homer Plessy was a Louisiana man who was actually mixed race. And he deliberately challenged the segregation laws by sitting on a whites-only train car in 1892 down in Louisiana. Now, this thing went to the courts there in Louisiana, and the judge decided, no. Listen, we gave you blacks a car, or Negroes a car that they can ride in, and you know that you ride on yours, you stay on your side, and the whites stay on their side. And as long as you got a seat and you can get to one destination to another, you get where you want to go, and you can live over there with y'all, then, and the accommodations are equal, we can stay separate. This established at this time in 1896 a legal precedent for separating whites and blacks. Ultimately, it bolstered things like Jim Crow laws all throughout the South. And they were actually, Jim Crow laws had some effect in certain parts of the North as well. You see, the concept, the mindset. And what happens is, after a civil war, 6,020 people died in the Civil War. Many of them were white men, and many of them were black men. You had this fight going on now about separate but equal. Here we are now. You told me I'm free. 13th, 14th Amendment said, listen, I got certain rights. We even had the 15th Amendment as well in between this time. And now by 1896, you're still telling me I can't sit somewhere. I'm not welcome, you see. But because Homer Plessy was self-determined, he decided, no. That dog will not hunt, and I'm going to fight this thing, and I'm going to show you where we go. Well, he lost ultimately in the Supreme Court, and it did, again, establish a legal precedent, yet another decision that empowered others to be cruel through Jim Crow and other things. Now, bringing this up, I don't mean to stir any or fester any anger or frustration in anybody that they want to reach out and strike out at anyone. I want us to understand the context of history during this Black History Month. Because had it not been for Homer Plessy, and I should note that Homer Plessy was not dark in hue. In fact, he had more white blood in him than he had black blood or Negro blood. But at the time, as long as you had a certain percentage of Negro blood, you were considered black. And therefore, you were treated in a certain manner. Today, we got a mix and a plethora of a mixture of people in the Afro-American subculture. And I would argue that many people are kind of confused about who and what they are, how to identify themselves. In fact, you hear people arguing internally saying, don't call me black, don't call me African American, don't call me Negro, right? Some won't identify with names that came from the motherland. Fully understandable. But again, where we are is that it was not a matter of really his character, but it was what it looked like on the outside and legally what was there to support and protect certain practices and ideologies. long story short, it was Plessy's effort of defiance and disobedience to what he believed was a illegal and unlawful practice in America that led to this decision. But it also set the stage that was justifying separation. This set the stage for another fight for desegregation. If we learn one thing from Plessy, it ought to be that you have to be self-determined and willing again to fight for what's important to you. Very similar to Dred Scott. Dred Scott had a little help from his white slave master. Plessy lost his legally, but he established a principle and a precedence. And later on, we were able to see, and I say we, I'm talking about the United States, we're able to see this precedent reversed in 1954. Hence the impact of the Brown versus Board of Education, Topeka, Kansas. You know it. It's the desegregation law of the land that still have application today in 2026. Now, there are some people who then and now believe that you should not have forced people to have to come together. But let's look at the core argument. And what was the core argument in the case? Consider this, and then I'll bring in some other considerations here. Brown versus Board of Education 54 was a state sanctioned, a government now, a state sanctioned segregation of public schools based solely on race that violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. That was the argument. And you know Thurgood Marshall, who later became a Supreme Court Justice himself, the late, great Thurgood Marshall, he fought that case on behalf of the Brown family. And there were a couple other families as well, but the Brown was the most notable family. A father had a daughter in a school, and this school says that this child couldn't go there because she was black. The father said, no, I want her to get the best education. Now you can ask the question, did the father think his daughter was better than the other black children that were in the other segregated black schools? Did he think she was in? No, it was a principle thing, that these are state dollars. And we talked about that in previous episodes, how state funding, tax dollars that you have to pay as a citizen are going toward establishment of these schools. And your children have a right just like everybody else. Now, we're going to get into something in a little bit about just the quality of that education or the culture of the environment of the school or the school system that these children go. But let me not digress. So basically the argument was the 14th Amendment came up again in terms of the Equal Protection Clause. And it said that this state in Kansas did not recognize or respect that. And that was the basis of the case. The court unanimously ruled separate but equal facilities. We went right back to Plessy versus Ferguson issue. They ruled that they were inherently unequal and that segregation generated feelings of inferiority among black people. Now, it's interesting when you look at this case, the conversation was about how people felt. Was there any real proof that forcing blacks and whites into the same classroom was going to ensure that those black children actually learned, were successful, they were able to use their education to improve their qualities of life beyond, that their social life was going to be improved, that their health status? Was there any guarantee to that? We see now, years after this decision, that it didn't. And with this case, this legal precedent, it affected other areas outside of just schools, public accommodations where there were government funded accommodations. It forced this equal access and rights and so forth and so on. Principle, that's right. Truth of the matter is, you can't legislate what's in a man or woman's heart, but that has to be demonstrated. And what we have seen is that despite this legal precedent affected by the precedent before it, Plessy versus Ferguson, and even that precedent of where you have a right in America with Dred Scott in 1857, at the end of the day, it's not the government or the Supreme Court that determines how well opportunities and resources will benefit you, but it's you, the individual, that has to be the greatest determinant of that. All right? What Brown versus Board of Education did in summary was to make the point that each individual, irregardless of race, has to establish their rights. And what I mean by that is you've had to actively make sure that you take advantage of those opportunities so your rights are best respected. You can't make somebody else like you or want you to have something, okay? But you have a right to it. And just because they don't want you to have it don't mean you shouldn't or couldn't have it. Fact is up to you and how self-determined you are. Today, in relationship to the plight of black males in public schools all across America, in urban areas largely, that are struggling. And not all black males, let me be very clear, are struggling. Too many of them are, though. We know that. And you know, right in Nashville, Tennessee is where Dr. Christian Academy aims to turn that around, to reverse that, using public resources and accommodations. So we're grateful for the 54 decision that at least said that the choice of how to receive funds and to use them can't be a segregated thing, but a desegregated thing. Everybody gets to benefit from. Specifically, we're talking about public resources for private school education, for parents and their children. That's your right. And I would argue that when we look at these three precedents, legal precedents, it was established through that, through the turmoil there and the turbulence that those men and others that were affected by those decisions faced. You see what I'm saying? That was a dark point where the Supreme Court upheld rather unjust and cruel positions that empowered other states and governments and what have you to do that. But it was reversed. Now that we have the right for blacks to receive an education and have an opportunity to keep up with their counterparts and do well, unfortunately what we've seen is a resegregation by default of schools because of white flight historically, where those that can afford to left public schools. There are some whites that are still in many public schools, Hispanics, other ethnicities, but by and large, those that can afford left and started their own private schools. They had the economic status and fortitude to do so. But for those who don't, then what do you do? Right? And now when we look at, again, as we talked about earlier, NAEP reports since 1969 don't look very good overall, the picture, for black males in urban American schools. Who's going to do what about that? Who's going to do what about that? Well, I come to tell you that we got the fix in 2026. You're listening to the DCA podcast. This is Reverend Dockery, founder and headmaster for Dockery Christian Academy. And tonight we have highlighted 3 legal precedents that really shaped and impacted the plight today, and even the opportunities for black males. And of course, you know, we focus on black males because Dockery Christian Academy is a school designed for at-risk black males in Nashville, and we're developing a prototype, a model that can be used nationally across urban America. All right? Why? Because NAEP tells us this is the subgroup or population of students across urban America that are falling behind more than any other group. So the data tells us we must do this. Someone must do this. Okay? Now, I'm excited to share with you this announcement. I want you to get your pen out. I want you to write down this on your calendar and prepare yourself this Black History Month. This is our Black History Month event. DCA's 40,000 Founders campaign. I want you to join me for a 3-day virtual fundraising drive, The Fix in 2026. When, Dockery? When? I want to come. All right, I want you to. I want to see you there. February 17th, that's Tuesday, February 17th. These are virtual events, and what you're going to do is you're going to look for this, we're going to post this out in Facebook and what have you, and share it with you. And but put these dates down. But go to www.dockeryacademy.us. That's the informational report resource. www.dockeryacademy.us. Right? You'll find this information there. Tuesday, February 17th at 7 o'clock to 7:30. And then on Wednesday, February 18th at 7 o'clock until 7:30. And on Thursday, February 19th at 7 o'clock until 7:30. What's going to be happening then, Ruben? Well, yours truly going to be engaging you, taking your questions and answers in a virtual setting where this marathon will be going on. And as you come and you share with your friends and your families and others to help us reach our mark of 40,000 founders. What is a founder? Someone that has the heart to support our efforts to help these young men to change a life. We change one life, one contribution at a time. This virtual fundraiser has real life impact. So I want you to come join me. Come join me, all right? When is that? That's this February, during Black History Month, on the Tuesday the 17th, 7 o'clock, Wednesday the 18th at 7 o'clock, and Thursday the 19th at 7 o'clock. These will be virtual town hall style thing where you can post your question and answers to me. It will more than likely be a Zoom, a massive Zoom meeting. You'll get, when you go to the website, you'll be able to follow our event page, and from there you can register for the event. That's the way we're setting it up, where you can register from the website for this event, basically. And when you register, we'll send you all the necessary information to join us, to come in and to be there, enjoy yourself. We're going to be playing music from the baby boy of the school's name, who the gentleman of the school's name is, in whom the school is named after, Prophet Robert Lee Dockery. His son is Mario Abney, excellent musician in the Chicago area. And we've been playing his music on our podcast. We're going to play a little bit more. That was our intro for the show tonight. Have a little bit when we leave. But nonetheless, we'll be featuring him, and yours truly will be there to. You can post your question live. It'll be a live engagement where you can post your question and be live streamed, and you can follow us there. On your phone, if you wanted to, you can look at it on your tablet or your desktop. Either way. But I'm excited to share that with you. So put that on your calendar. DCA's 40,000 Founders campaign. And I want you to go to the website and learn more about it. www.dockeryacademy.us. Now, these episodes that we're recording, these live streams, we are We've edited them some, and we placed them on the website, so you can go back and see the full review. We've had some issues technically with graphics and what have you, but when you go back to the edited view, you will see the graphics with the information that's relevant to the topics and the conversations that we've been having. And that being said, guess what? We are about done for tonight. We're about done for tonight. We endeavor to do this moving forward, and with your help, we'll be able to get the school kicked off in the very, very near future. Your help in God's will, and we can do this. 40,000 Founders Campaign for DCA, Dockery Christian Academy. Put that on your calendar, February 17th through the 19th. Just 30 minutes of your time each night, from 7 o'clock to 7:30. Once you've made your contribution, encourage your friends and everybody else who has not to do so. This virtual fundraising drive will run for these 3 days specifically. Anytime you give give right now. Go to the website and give right now. www.dockeryacademy.us. But this is a specific time where we're encouraging you to join us. And again, the benefit is that you'll be able to engage with yours truly live in this event and in this environment. All right. I want to thank you again for joining me for another episode of the DCA podcast. And we look forward to coming back next Thursday to share another episode with you and prepare for that week of the 17th, where that particular Thursday, the 19th, will be a special episode because it will be a part of our virtual drive and that marathon where you'll be able to do Q&A with us. And we'll put information out about it, and we'll post it on Facebook as well as to how to join us and link in with us, okay? All right. Well, again, we thank you. And we're going to end tonight with music from this, the son again, of Prophet Robert Lee Dockery, Mr. Mario Abney, and his band is called the Abney Effect. This particular tune is entitled Home. The other tune you heard is Up Goes the Prophet. This one is called Home. Enjoy. We're going to have this on the website to where you can purchase this CD, this album. He has a number of songs on here. Great jazz music.